Hello and welcome to Car Dealer Live. My name is James Batchelor and today we are joined by AutoTrader and looking at what's going on in the market. Joining me is the firm's Chief Operating Officer, Catherine Faiers. Hello, Catherine.
Hi, James. It's great to be back.
Always good to have you on, Catherine. You're always welcome on Car Dealer Live. Now, in actual fact, the last time we chatted was at our Car Dealer Live event back in very early March, and it was snowing, which seems bizarre now to think. But now you at that event, you presented some amazing data to our live audience, and it was the three forces of change, wasn't it? The three big forces that you think are going to have the biggest impacts on retailing over the coming months. Electric vehicles, I think, challenges in supply and changing car buyer behaviour. Now, we're almost halfway through the year now. I hate to say that, but the year's rushing by. It'd be interesting to get a bit of an update from you, really. So, I mean, what are you seeing in terms of consumer demand at the moment? Let's start off with that.
Sure, yeah, it's a good idea. Let's start with the broader market, the market overall, and how's that moved on since February, which you're right, it does feel like a very long time ago now. So we're still seeing a robust market overall, with the used car market in particular compared to new showing real signs of strength. Back in February, we talked about this strong backdrop with, good demand, challenging supply situation, which actually was all leading to prices beginning to rise again after a period of kind of month-on-month more stabilization and very fast speed of sale. And to be honest, the picture today in terms of that overall market backdrop looks very similar, and we're not seeing signs in the data that any of those fundamentals are changing. We did see in April the timing of Easter was slightly different, so we saw some impact on the year comparisons, but May's tracking very strongly again. Visits to our platform are up about 14% year on year. We're on track for another month with about 70 million visits to AutoTrader, and we've had a number of record-breaking months this year. So there's no signs that year-on-year growth rate is slowing down at all. And that is all flowing through to transactions. We saw Q1 this year up 4% year-on-year in terms of used car transactions. And our proxy sold data for April and into May suggests a similar strong year-on-year growth picture. And given that supply side situation, which definitely still remains constrained, that's still driving month-on-month price increases, year-on-year price increases as well, and is flowing through again into strong speed of sale. Average speed of sale at the moment is about 27 days, which is back at some of the fastest or lowest levels that we've seen on AutoTrader, certainly compared to last year and in the last few months as well. So I'd say that feels at the moment that backdrop in the used car market is pretty robust trading environment for retailers, with some of those things that you mentioned at the beginning, those forces of change, supply, electric vehicles, digital retailing being the things that we're spending more of our time talking about.
I mean, I also think 2023 is going to be remembered for the year of the bank holiday. I mean, there's just been so many bank holidays. I mean, has that had an effect? Have you noticed that in the data, or is it just not negligible?
Yeah, I mean, we do absolutely see public holidays and weather impact on any individual day, impact the level of visits, leads, engagement that we see on our platform. However, those days catch up. So we typically see, if Easter falls earlier in a month or if a bank holiday falls in a month, we'll see either the days before or the days following that bank holiday will look stronger. And overall in May, that engagement level we're seeing month on month is still good versus April, and we're not seeing any signs of any slowing on the overall month performance because of those bank holidays specifically.
Yeah, interesting. Now you mentioned supply earlier. I mean, are you starting to see that sort of pick up a little bit, or do you think we're still quite a way off from where we'd expect it to be?
It's definitely picking up a little bit, but that said, supply side sourcing challenges definitely remains one of the biggest challenge we hear from retailers at the moment. Year to date, we've obviously seen also in the SMMT data, the registration data, 35% more new cars advertised on AutoTrader over that period on 2023, and I think we're now on our 8th month, aren't we, of year-on-year and growth in new car registration data as well. So new car production is definitely improving. I think that's good news for the industry and for consumers, actually, because some of those waiting times that we were seeing in 2021 and 2022 are reducing, and that we know that had been putting off some buyers from entering the market. I think there might be some industry voices that are perhaps a bit concerned over the potential impacts of some of that improvement in supply, particularly where it's coming in pockets of volume with specific manufacturers. But we're hopeful that there still seems to be some slack in some of the channels that have been starved of that supply side in recent years. So whether it's rental, whether it's leasing, and we're confident from what we're seeing at the moment that the margin on the majority of those vehicles will come at a pretty healthy balance between, driving that volume, but also preserving margin as well. In terms of what then that all means for used car supply, current levels on AutoTrader are down about 6% in May on the same period that we were seeing last year. That's actually the strongest recorded month this year. And that year-on-year gap is narrowing. And that said, overall, as we talked about back in February, we are still seeing a lot fewer vehicles in that 0 to 5-year-old age cohort of cars overall. So there's about 37% fewer vehicles in that age cohort than there were. And we are seeing that challenge drive retailers to think differently about sourcing strategies, whether it's focusing on part exchange valuations or part exchange process on the forecourt as a strategic priority, whether that's launching their own car buying services, thinking differently about the profile and age of stock that retailers are sourcing. Lots of quite big strategic and operating model changes playing out
there. Electric vehicles, we have to talk about them.
Yeah.
Now, are you starting to see prices stabilizing, or are they still in free fall? Because that's sort of dominated the headlines of the past, since the back end of last year, hasn't it? The price is actually falling through the floor. I mean, is it starting to stabilize, do you think?
So we've seen in the last couple of weeks some early signs of stabilization in the pricing. And what we don't know at the moment is whether that's kind of a temporary lull as the market's found its new normal for now, or whether we'll see further impacts in the coming months. Demand for used EVs still remains strong. Demand on AutoTrader is tracking up about 40% year on year. As we've talked about lots, the challenge has been this huge influx of supply. We've got about 3 times more used electric vehicles on AutoTrader than we had a year ago. And given that, even with demand being strong, given that influx of supply, we've obviously seen that play out through price in the last few months. And we know and have heard from a number of retailers that that's been really painful for some. And understandably, many are now quite nervous about stocking EVs. Some have gone as far as buying bans. Most are just being a lot more targeted or a lot more thoughtful about how and where they're sourcing those vehicles. Within the first couple of weeks of this month, we've seen the rate at which prices are falling has definitely begun to soften. We've seen 8 months now of decline, and average EV prices for the first time this month have risen so far, up 0.2% on last month. Still down year on year, but that month on month movement has improved. So early signs, hopefully, of some stabilization in that EV pricing as the supply demand imbalance seems to have found a bit of a new normal. And that said, we do know, based on the registration data over the last few years, that we're going to continue to see a supply of used electric vehicles coming to market. So we need to work really hard. We need to work as an industry, I think, really hard to make sure that we are building that pipeline of future used electric vehicle buyers, giving them the confidence to go on that buying journey so that we can keep and sustain a more healthy used EV market for all of the players in that ecosystem and in the industry.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because it's for used car dealers, it's very easy to get turned off by electric cars at the moment, but you've got to think of the long game, haven't you? And the way it's going in that direction, and you've got to start stocking those cars. But definitely one to watch that. So yeah, we'll check in with you soon on whether those prices are stabilizing. Now, digital retailing, obviously over the past few years, there's been real growth in this area for obvious reasons. Do you think that demand is still there? I mean, do you think there's actual consumer demand for people wanting to transact online?
So whenever we ask consumers, they all say they want to do more online. And there's been loads of headlines written over the last few years saying that all of car buying is going to move online. I think there's two important things to consider. Firstly, there's often a difference, and sometimes it can be quite a big difference between what consumers say they're going to do and then what they actually do in reality. We're seeing it at the moment with consumers feel like they should be influenced by headlines and sentiment around electric vehicles actually as well, but then they just carry on doing what they would have done anyway. And secondly, when we ask consumers, most consumers do say that they want to do more online, that they're comfortable doing more of the jobs in the buying journey online, but not as many say that they want to do all of the buying journey online. And I think that is a really important difference. The difference between an online transaction and an omni-channel experience that might involve a digital journey, but a physical experience or actually transaction happening on the forecourt. And from the data we track as well, we can see that the number of used cars being bought end to end online, the growth in that metric has stalled. It was up as high as about 4% at one point in the last couple of years. It's now stabilized at below that level and actually tracking back now year on year. At the same time, we're seeing record engagement on AutoTrader with our tools, with consumers doing more of those buying jobs online, but then the majority absolutely still looking for us to hand over to the retailer to complete the jobs that they're less comfortable doing online on the forecourt with the retailer. So for us, when we talk about digital retailing, we very much mean omni-channel retailing, bringing the best of the digital experience and connecting that with the best of the forecourt experience provided by retailers. So digital journeys, but very much physical retailing, and we think that's the future for the industry.
Yeah. But what do you think this change in consumer behaviour actually means for retailers? I mean, do you think the role of the salesperson could or is becoming redundant?
Well, I think the fact that many consumers, in fact, most of them absolutely still want to experience the car in some way, whether that's to test drive it, to get advice from a product expert on the vehicle. We have seen consistently that there's a real buyer need for that as part of the buying journey, and that physical experience and completing the transaction in person. So there's no doubt that I think the role of the salesperson in how they're helping that buyer is definitely changing, and it will continue to change. Of course, it's still about closing the sale to some extent, but it's much more about delivering a personalized service to that consumer who might have actually done quite a lot of work online, quite a lot of research, be quite a long way down the buying journey. But almost the experience then provided on the forecourt becomes even more important. And it is a way for retailers to differentiate the service and the experience they're providing versus what you can get online or what you can get from some other retail channels. So the salesperson or product genius or consumer experience lead, whatever the right job title is, the role itself and the importance of that role, I think, is still very much there. But how the role's shaped, what KPIs that role is measured on, whether it's consumer satisfaction, buying experience, lots of other metrics, as well as, of course, making sure that the consumer ultimately transacts or finds the right vehicle for them.
What do you think the benefits are for the dealers who are able to adapt to these changes? And also, is there a risk that some retailers will be left behind?
So I think we've been in market recently with ICDP, and we've surveyed hundreds of retailers to try and understand what have retailers done and what benefits are they seeing. And so we've spoken to over 200 retailers and represent about a couple of thousand sites across franchise and independent. And We had some great feedback. Encouragingly, the vast majority of retailers are supporting and providing some forms of digital solutions to buyers. And encouragingly, again, consumers are then engaging with those tools. So the response we had from retailers on the level of engagement they're seeing with test drive booking online, or the level of engagement with starting a finance application or part exchange, seeing really good engagement measures with those tools. When we then asked retailers, okay, well, you've implemented these things, what benefits are you seeing both for your business and for the consumer? And retailers shared some really positive insights on the buying experience being more seamless, consumers able to complete perhaps more of the time consuming jobs at home, in their own time, but then coming to the forecourt and looking for a shorter experience perhaps on the forecourt, but a more value added one, like with clear questions and clear information that they're looking to get from that experience. Retailers have also seen benefits for their business where they've embraced those digital tools and thought differently about the operating processes they need to have on the forecourt, the tools they're using, the consumer proposition that sits around that digital journey, whether it's the warranty period they're offering, or the returns policy, or home delivery. Retailers that have embraced all of the different considerations of digital retailing have seen really positive operational and process improvements on the forecourt from making the best of those digital tools. In terms of your second question on are retailers going to get left behind if they're not embracing those digital tools, I think that but we know today that consumers want to do more, if not yet all of that buying journey online. And I think that trend does only look set to continue. So I don't think for many retailers today, if they're not offering those services, they're necessarily missing out on that huge number of sales or consumers that otherwise wouldn't visit them. But I think increasingly in the future, as more and more retailers are offering these services, the retailers that don't, perhaps over time, there might be some buyers that just do want that convenience and that ease that comes with being able to do those jobs at home. So I can see for some retailers that it might potentially constrain either the buyers or their ability to convert buyers, and they won't be delivering some of those operational benefits that we've seen from the retailers that have embraced the tools.
Finally, Catherine, how are you guys? How is AutoTrader supporting retailers in this transition?
So we've been working hard for a number of years on making and creating stronger connections between the digital experiences we have on AutoTrader and how we connect those with retailers' core systems through both work we've been doing in our retailer portal and also through our AutoTrader Connect strategy, where we've been sharing access to our technology and our data with retailers and with other players in the industry. And to create this truly connected kind of seamless experience for consumers where their digital journey is consistent with the one they then have on the forecourt, it does need new partnerships and connections to be formed between lots of different players across the industry. And we've been working to help through our stock management system, through our valuations data, create these connections with retailer systems so that retailers can have confidence that they've got one stock record created from the most accurate and reliable taxonomy, and that stock record is consistent and up to date across all of their different retail channels, that there's one price position that reflects the retail market that again is represented on their forecourt, on AutoTrader, on their own website. So much of the work we've been doing has been platform work over the last few years to get all of the different digital and physical forecourt sales channels all very connected through data and technology. In the last few months, we've been working to ramp up a trial of that end-to-end digital retailing journey on AutoTrader. So enabling a consumer to reserve the vehicle that they've found and want to buy, to complete and start the finance application, to get a part exchange quote from that retailer, all offering and connecting to the retailer's products and the retailer's experience. And we're handing over, wherever the consumer wants to leave AutoTrader and speak to a retailer or connect with a retailer, we're always handing over into that retailer environment. So I think there's lots we can do. If the goal is kind of really connected omni-channel retailing, then there's lots we can do to help enable and facilitate that for retailers.
Some really interesting stuff there, Catherine, as always. So thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you, James. Hope to see you soon.
Well, that's it for today's Car Dealer Live. Join us again very soon. Bye-bye.